morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. So today we have a guest speaker from the Hindu faith tradition, and his name is Srini
Gadi.
Gadi. He's joining us today. I'm going to let him know where he's from, and how we kind of got to know each other through the wonderful internet. Sometimes it's awesome, sometimes not, but this time it was great. And then he's going to share his tradition with us. So we are so thankful that you are here with us today.
Yeah, no problem. You guys can hear me?
Your mic isn't on.
Yours isn't.
Mine isn't?
Yours
Oh.
isn't. Yours isn't.
You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Batteries.
Let me start with, I am not related to John Gotti, so. Once somebody asked me that. As Jen mentioned, I'm Srini Gadi. I work in Madison, Wisconsin. I work for state of Wisconsin, actually. By any means, I'm not a trained religious person. So just I wanted to make sure if you go on and talk to somebody, if you hear differently, I'm going to talk about some of those aspects. If they're different, that you learn, that is very, very natural and common in Hinduism. But just want to make sure that my profession is computer science engineering, and then I came here, I did my master's from UW-Madison, MBA, and then I work as a manager now. Not technical person, but that's my living thing. And then I'm part of the temple board in Madison, AHA, American Hindu Association, Hindu temple in Madison. We constructed temple in 2019, so 4 years. It's been annual tradition for me to host some of the religious schools and especially the small kids from in and around Madison area who visit our temple, and then they give the tour and then talk about it, and whatever the questions they have, help them. So my dad was a teacher. If there's anything that I'm doing close to his heart is trying to teach something to other people. So I feel very honored, and thank you for welcoming me. So I'll try my best with visual aid and then what I know, because Hinduism, any rule, there will be an exception. For any religion, Hinduism is an exception. So I'll try my best. Hopefully you'll get some idea, one or two from me, and then see how it helps you to understand more about the religion. So how many of you heard about it before today? Okay, it's good, at least you know there is a religion. That's a good start, right? So I'll start and then see if you can. Hinduism, right? Any ism, Islamism, Christianity, Buddhism, whatever, the religions were out there, right? There is a definition, obviously. Each religion falls some of those categories, characteristics. But when it comes to Hinduism, there will be an exception for that. So I'll explain why it's an exception. And then we follow some the rules and traditions. Obviously, they talk about it. It's not really rule, but people follow, people don't follow, but they're still part of the same religion. But mostly these are the two ideas, right? Dharma, meaning the duties that you have to perform. That's either philosophical or religious or society-based, family, whatever. But you're supposed to follow some of those, right? And then how they think about it. So, Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, what that means is this all is one family. There's always a saying in the belief, if you go 7 generations before, right? They always say that. What happens? If you think about it, this is my family, my wife, my daughter, my kid. But if you go to the next generation, it probably belongs to a bigger family because your parents and like your both mom side, dad side, they have extended family. If you go one generation up, that extended family is actually expanding because now all of a sudden 3-4 generations before, the people today you think that doesn't belong to you, they actually somewhere connected. So if you think about that, You go to 7 generations up and then beyond, then all of a sudden, the small family that you think today is mine is actually much bigger than what you think, right? And that is one of the concepts why they say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, meaning the world is one family, because we all come from one, like somewhere the same origin or maybe the same set, whatever you think about it. So those are some of the concepts that we believe. So, please ask me questions, because as I said, I'm not a trained person. I cannot be disturbed, because I'm as good as if you ask me questions or you don't ask me the questions. But some of them I put together. That doesn't mean that it is insulting to any of the things, right? I'm just this is what at least I know. Then I can put something together so you guys can. This is, if not the old religion, this is one of the oldest religion. I don't think anybody even can tell this is the starting point. Like Christ, 2,000 years. We cannot define it because there is no such thing for this religion. But this definitely, this is what they think that's right. The inscripts and some of the artifacts and then the religious readings and writings that you can find. But that's again, it's like a range beyond even the human history that we can think, that itself tells that there's no specific starting point for the religion. In fact, it's not even a religion, to be honest. The reason why it is because it is not even religion or put into the context of a religion, rules and regulations, there is no single founder. You cannot tell that this is the guy who started it. This is the origin of the religion. To our understanding, how it came, the word, right? The Hindu is actually the Sanskrit word Sindhu, right? Sindhu is the river. The modern day is called Indus River, and that's where the Indus civilization started, the first known, the humankind, right? People outside of that, they call, people live other side of that river. Those are the Hindus. If you look at the Indian map today, like this, the river is here, and then this is all the Middle East and all they will come, right? Nobody can come here because it's Himalayas, those days at least, not now. But then the people were, those are the people who are on the river, people on outside the river or other side of the river. That's how the name came at. It's a little fascinating, but that's the Indus River Valley civilization, and then that's the oldest civilization, if not the oldest, but one of the oldest. Scriptures, right? Like as I said, there's no one book, like there's no one Bible, there's no one Quran, there's no one thing. So, however, we have 4 Vedas. What Vedas? They actually, 4 of them called Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. Each one talks about, one of them talks about music and dance and whatever, right? The other one talks about how you perform religious functions, and the other one, like, right? Each one is categorized to talk about different things of the life. So those are the ancient scripts that we have. However, most of the people, you probably heard the name Bhagavad Gita, which is our Gita in simple, which is what in one of the incarnations of God talked to his devotee about different things in the life. And you probably, all of you have heard the word karma, right?
Mm-hmm.
The word karma, yeah.
Yeah.
In that book, he talked about what that means. Like people say, that's my karma. Karma is nothing but you did something, right? You did. That's a verb. That's nothing but, it could be good, it could be bad, it could be in between, right? But karma is nothing but the work you did. And then there will be some results to that, right? If you did something good, probably that will be a better this life or afterlife or whatever. If something bad, then the same thing, the results may be good, bad, and then that may follow you, and so on. So one of the aspects that talked about karma in that book, that's where the word originated. Karma is a Sanskrit word, which is verb, basically, it did something. And then we have Upanishads, which is also philosophical ideas, and and then also these are a pure if you look at this, like the Sanskrit, and it's not something that we speak. And at one point in India, that is we call today is the gods' language. Basically, believe that the gods were talking in that, and it was the more prevalent, and people used to speak and communicate. Not anymore, and some of them were very grammatically like high level standards in that language, and that's how they were written. And then these are philosophical ideas, but in the dialogue form, story form, right? It's kind of brought down to normal people who can read and understand.
I have a question. The Hindi language then, is that what the scriptures were in, or is that just what they speak in that area?
So Sanskrit is the original language, and then we have like, I don't know, 10,000 languages in India,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not even exaggerating, right? But there are like the major languages that are constitutionally recognized, that you can communicate officially in the government documentation standard. Hindi is one of them, and then if you look at the India, the southern part and northern part, like two different distinctions, like any other country, right? South, north. North side of the country, they speak in Hindi locally, right? And then when you go south, and each state is like Europe, like that, each has their own language, and then traditions and food and whatnot. And the Hindi is kind of considered as the Indian like national language, but it is not. There is no official national language. Everything is equally recognized. This looks like Hindi. That's why I think you're thinking maybe this is.
Well, I don't know what Hindi
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
like. I've heard it.
Yeah. So it's derived from Sanskrit, and it looks like Sanskrit, but it is not Sanskrit. So they're two different. And then some of the words are as it is used in the other South Indian languages as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely not Hindi, but Sanskrit. And then all the religious inscriptions are in Sanskrit, not in Hindi. Like the Bible, they later translated, right? We were talking about lost in translation. I don't know what that means, but sometimes we may lost the original meaning because the original language is different, right? So that's what it is. So we talked about the religion, right? The concept of religion, that it is not really, it's a way of living for most of the people. I mean, if you go to the village life and some untouchable areas not influenced by the modern digital tools and technologies, you will understand what some of them are, but it's a way of living, it's not really religion. And then let's come to the God now, right? The definition of the God, like one God, he's the starter, creator, or if that is the concept in any religion, that includes the Christianity, Muslims, even the one, some of them are derived from Hinduism, like Buddhism as an example. There's one person there as a starting point, but coming to Hinduism, there is no one God. So, and then we'll talk about different forms of the God. So, some people believe there is no characteristics to the God. Nobody saw him, so I cannot tell that he looks like this. Some people think that way. I visioned, or at least witnessed him, or I saw him, and then he has some characteristics, right? So nirguna meaning characters. Nirguna means no characters, right? That's what God without attributes. You cannot tell how he looks like. Some people think that saguna, sa meaning well defined, guna meaning characters, meaning God with some attributes. The one that doesn't have any characters, you can just imagine and then you just worship because you don't know how he looks like. The one with characteristics or attributes, then the problem is how do you worship them, right? And that's why it is worship in any shape, form, a human shape or whatever, they can. I mean, in some of the pictures I will try to provide if you travel India or talk about it, some people may think like an elephant is a god, snake is a god, cow, some shapes that you don't even think that they are, but they all think it's a god, right? There's some form of the god.
Is that why in India, like the cows have kind of free range?
Yeah, the cow is a sacred animal. Most of the Hindus, we don't try to hurt. Forget about killing and eating, or right? Beef. I'm not saying that eating beef is a bad thing, but that's the concept, right? They don't hurt, and then that's the reason why even if they come out and then free roaming, they don't try to do anything because it's a sacred animal, and they feel like it is a sin if you do something to it, and that's the origin of that concept. We don't have one God, right? But somewhere we have to start. So, yes, you can see we have three. They are the Trinity, the highest hierarchical order, if you will. So there are also organizational structure there, right? So three. One is called Brahma, with 4 heads. I mean, they're trying to depict, but the head isn't supposed to be other side, right? And then he's the creator. That's what we believe. So he's the one who creates the world, including the humans, nature, anything that we can see. And then the other one is Vishnu, the one in the middle. And then we will talk about him more and more. He's the preserver, meaning when some things doesn't work, or things are not following the order, he came in different forms to restore the order, right? And move on. And then Shiva is known as destroyer, but he doesn't really destroy things. But the followers of him who got the boons and things like that, they did some, and that is why he called as destroyer. But just that the physical aspects are, try to understand, to tell. These are all the aspects, parts of the same divine being. It's not like they're 3 different people. But if we say that, people will kill me because, again, Hinduism, there's no one concept, there's no one process. And in fact, most of the religious wars that we feel like in the modern days, right, crusades or whatever we can call, between different religions, it happened between these 2 devotees. So until like 12th, 14th century in India, so the wars were based on the followers between Shiva and Vishnu, and it's not that old.
Is there no gender either? I mean, those look like, to me, like women, like they're feminine.
Yes.
But and I thought, oh, that's great, all of your.
Yes. So this is not the first time I heard it. They look like women. They actually are, all 3 are men.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
The 3 are men. So, like these like if you see it, I don't know closely,
Yeah, the little.
right?
Yeah.
His goes to horizontal, and there's one is like is a 3rd eye, but it goes horizontal. The other one goes straight. So there's a difference between the followers. So even when you go to the temple, the Vishnu followers have it's called botu in Telugu, my language, but basically supposed to be the rock salt, and there's some scientific reason behind it why they actually put it here, but the modern days we don't really use the rock salt, it's just paint something, right? But his goes vertical and then Shiva's goes horizontal, so you can see the difference. There's like always some reasons behind it, but there are 3 are men.
Okay.
Yeah. The one Vishnu in the middle, right? This one, I said that we were going to talk about more here. So even though we have Trinity, we usually don't have temples for him. Is the Brahma, and the story behind, at least one of the story behind. If you go and talk to different people, maybe different stories they will tell you. One of the story is in the ancient before our times, I guess. So in Hinduism, the worship is in terms of like they do singing, they do like writing about them, they do songs about them. They also do some yajna. What that means is they actually chant the religious inscriptions, and there's a fire in the middle, and then at the end they offer some, which is like an honor to the gods, right? So they believe that whatever you offer, they will go to the god. So when they were decided to do that, some of these the people, they don't know which one is supposed to get it, right? So they were like, then they started fighting. It is like to tell that it's okay to have the differences. And then how they settled down is sent one guy, okay, you go in and see all three of them, and then you tell us which one's supposed to get it. So when he visited those three places, he did not recognize, the Brahma did not recognize him, so he cursed him that I came to your home and you did not even recognize me. You're so arrogant, so you're not going to get any worship on the earth. He moved on to this one, and then same thing happened to him. He did not recognize well in time, I guess. And then he said, okay, you're not going to get worshipped in the human form, so there will be a shape that I will show you. And then he came to here after those two. He was so mad he didn't get the same treatment. He went and hit him. Human going and hit the god, right? That is the story. And then instead of reacting angrily, the god reacted him and saying, sorry that I did not recognize you. Is your feet hurt? And then he touched his feet, and then what happened, the story is he has one eye in his feet, and that made the human like arrogant, so he destroyed that, right? So then he realized, which is basically what it means is the arrogance in your mindset or that I'm great kind of feeling is gone as soon as he did that. Oh, he realized, oh, I did a mistake, I'm sorry. And instead of cursing me that you actually allowed me to like at least even kind of proceed. So he came down and he said, okay, that's the person he's going to get all the offerings from that, the original idea of who is going to get all those offerings, right? That's how. So that's why when we go and then talk about the temples and everything, he's not even the creator, not worshipped anywhere in the world, in India at least. There's no temples for him. You will see nothing. And then for him, different form. But for now, we will consider, or at least talk about the one in the middle, Vishnu. So as I said, whenever there is a problem, he came and then restored the order at multiple times. And then he came in, not yet, the 10th one is not yet, but he came in different forms. They're called Dasavataras, meaning 10 avatars. How many people watched the movie Avatar? That's the word he borrowed from the, yeah. So he came in different 10 forms. The 10th one is supposed to be waiting, like any other religion, the God is going to become, right? In Christianity also the same concept, right? What do we call that Christ is going to reborn or come, right? I mean, that's the same idea I see in most of the religions. So when you look at that, is actually the first one is the water, a fish right here, and then the second one is amphibian, a turtle, which can live in both water and the land, and then the third one is pig, just the animal, but only on the earth animal, and then the fourth one is a human body head lion. So it's not completely man yet, right? So this is the evolution of the life from like water animals and in between, and then earth, and then like starting the human. And then this is a dwarf. He's not quite human, but human completely. And then the rest of them are in the human form. But he came at different times to do different things, and either saving earth or killing bad people. Each one has his own story. the most, or at least from the Western countries' standpoint, they know mostly about him, Krishna, because the movement called Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Krishna and Rama, these are the two, the most familiar or famous or whatever we can call the God. The incarnations are avatars of him. And then he's the one who traveled from north to the south, then all the way went to Sri Lanka to build the bridge, went to Sri Lanka, a big war, and then he came back with wife. And then Krishna is the one who, before the current form, the previous, obviously, who did like there was the two dynasties, right? The family started same, but then two brothers, and then their sons, they started fighting for kingdom, and then he one-sided, and then the bad guys were obviously defeated, and that is his story mostly. But this is the movement that they expanded to outside the India mostly, and then that is one of the reasons probably you all heard it. And the last one is yet to come. Obviously, the current phase is in between him and then this one. So then when he comes, that's when hopefully all the bads will be gone, and then the order of the restore. As I said, the Shiva, when he cursed him, is not going to be worshipped in the human form. And then this is the form we worship him today. This part is the lady part, the lady or his wife, and this is the male part of it. And then that's how the resemblance of that. And this is how Shiva is worshipped. And we don't see him in any human form, even though, like in the previous slide where you were able to see all the three men together, but we don't worship him because of that curse that I talked about earlier. Am I going too fast or?
No,
is-
you're
No,
not.
go ahead.
Okay. Coming back to some of the concepts, as I said, the karma, the law of cause and then effect, you reap what you sow, right? So the karma is basically, there's no good karma, bad karma, right? I was it's the thing that you do, the cause and effect basically. So it's what it is. I mean, it meant to be, we all here for some very specific reasons, and then we perform the duties, but there will be some consequences, and every action has the consequences, and you have to be careful about those things. One of the other thing is reincarnation. So as God came in different avatars, we also have belief in Hinduism, reincarnation, meaning the soul that leaves the body. It can be any form, right? It can be insect, it can be chicken, pig, cow, whatever, right? They're all equal. I mean, that's the concept of the Hinduism. So it's not just the humans are the only people or the species that matter. That you have same value as an insect or a cow or dog or anything. So they're all equal in terms of the soul and the God creation standpoint. However, the intellectual and then the level of knowledge is different, because if you do good things, and they think that the human form is the last best chance that God gave you. So use this to break the cycle of the births, which is the ultimate, the word called moksha. What that means is your soul is not going to rebirth anymore. It is going to reach the supreme soul, which is God, right? So that means you break the cycle of births, meaning birth is nothing but sorrow or pains that you have to go through, right? Any form, whether you human or anything else, when you born, that you have to go through some pains. That you're breaking it because this is the best chance we have it, because we know at least the knowledge standpoint, we can understand between the difference between the good, bad, or how you help neighbors and whatnot. And that is the reason why you can learn it, you can implement it, you can break that cycle. And this is the best chance we have. And that's the concept, right? Reincarnation. The soul travels through different bodies till it finds the liberation, which is basically nothing, but you're not going to get rebirth again. That is some of the basic concepts. So as I said, there were some rules and guidelines as defined as part of the religion. Most of them, but then if you put them in together on the highest level of segregation, they're into 4 categories. So Dharma meaning performing social and religious duties. So they're defined, they're supposed to be done. That doesn't mean that we are doing it, but they define these are all the things that love the neighbors, help whatever, or do the duties and then go and then worship God and things like that. They're all mentioned there. Artha, meaning Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, right? Those are the 4. The Artha meaning accumulation of wealth. It's not the money, the wealth meaning. That's one of the wealth, obviously, but the wealth is the knowledge you acquire, the good deeds you do, not the monetary fund standpoint, or the bank account number is not the ultimate wealth. And karma, as I said, kama, desires. Kama can be expressed in multiple ways, from body, human needs to I want this, I want that, right? This is the desire is basically. This concept is morally, Buddha used it. He defines for every sorrow or pain that we go through, the origin will be always the desire. The desire is the one that causes all the downstream impacts. He more talks about that. And then, as I said, moksha is freedom from want, rebirth, and whatever the desires or taste or senses think that I need this, I need that. Getting the liberation from all of those. And those are the basic concepts, high level. The reason I put it there, it's actually holy cow, right? The multiple reasons. One is this one is probably in one of the Shiva temple where this is the bull, not really the cow, but is the vehicle for Shiva traveling, right? So each god has their own vehicles. They call vahana, we call vahanas for them, meaning the Sanskrit word literally meaning to vehicle. Not just the animals, in fact, like as I said, snakes, and in some farms we worship them, like nature in general, all the creatures in the nature, they're all worshipped as gods in multiple forms. Cow has more resemblance, and one of the incarnations, the turtle one, as I said, amphibian, when they were churning the ocean for eternal life, liquid, they call amrit, meaning no death, right? The gods who actually drank that's why they don't have the death. During that process, the cow came out of it as part of the findings. And that is one of the reasons why it is considered a sacred animal. But if you think about it, it gives milk, it fulfills your needs and desires, and it's basically providing the food, and that is one of the reasons why it is considered as the sacred animal. But if you see any temple, most of the temples, they raise them and provide food and everything. And mostly in major festivals, they get farmers treat them with respect and whatnot, so they go. As I said, they can be any form. Elephant is also a form of, then they also used as, in some of the performances in the temples, they are included as well. As you can see, decorated them, as you can see, horizontal, that means it probably a Shiva temple. That's where the picture is from. As I said, snakes, water, fire, trees, you name it, they worship. I mean, as you can see there, it's belief system, like part of it in nature elements.
If you are saying that you worship to a degree all creatures in life, what do you consider a pest?
Past,
Pest.
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 Insect?
Like an insect.
Or, you know, I mean,
Mosquito.
something that you don't want around. What would that be?
so as I said, there is nothing that you don't want to be, but from the hierarchical standpoint, you've gone through some of the stages, right, in your previous lives. So, I'm not insulting, I'm not trying to make one is less than the other, but let's say, like an insect, and then something, a bird, and then an animal, and then human form, right? So if that is the order, so you probably went through these to come to this phase, right?
Right.
And is there good or bad, but you have to go through the stage to go to the next level. And that next level is obviously making good things to reach to the human form, because that is the best chance. That doesn't mean that a dog doesn't get the liberation, right? They may get it too, depending on how they did and then what they did and what not. But you probably did, or maybe we all did something good because we are all in the human form, and then we have that knowledge and, at least the recognition of good and bad state of mind, that we reach to this state. But ultimately, one of the reasons why God formed like the fish and turtle, and it shows that everything you have to evolve, you have to go through, and then everything is equal, as important as the human. It's not necessarily human are the only the important species. I think she has the question, but I'll come. Yeah.
I just noticed that the worshiping specifically on the bottom, other than the fact the location is different, that the worship itself looks different. A lot of times in religion, they have specific ceremonies. So if they're around water or fire, is there one type of ceremony? If they're outside around creation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or how does that look depending on the location or what is being worshipped?
So this is the picture. If I can tell, they're worshiping the water. I mean, as you can see, they're next to a big river, probably Ganges, and then, as I said, the water is a form of the god, right? So they're in any performance in the religious rituals, giving the fire, right? We call harati. That means they lit this, and then they give they rotate like this. That's how it. That means it's the honoring and respecting whoever the deity is. In this case, they're worshiping the water there. Is it different? Probably, because these are if you see them, like the pastor, right? They're priests that in a specific dress code, and then they know how to chant those Sanskrit scripts that they by heart. Actually, they don't read it, but they remember that, and they can chant those without even having any references. So they may do exactly how the books were written, whereas we here, I can go and do whatever I want to do. There is no, as I said, in Hinduism, a good thing or bad thing, there is no such thing, right? If you go to a temple, if you see somebody sitting there just praying inside, it's like not even uttering any word or not even moving. Some people close eyes, some people don't. Some people chant something, some people sings, some people dance, depending on what or how they prefer. But at the end of the day, they're all doing the same thing. They're worshiping, and they're trying to honor the gods, right?
Mm-hmm.
So each one in their own rights, they're good. they're right. There's no good or bad, and there's no one shape or process for that. The same ritual, the same festival celebrated in my family, my village is different from people in the village, or my village is different from the village next to us. There is no one defined, right? So I always tell this, just think about the religion. You have a mountain, and then let's say God is on top of it. So and then there is no pavement road. So what do? You may trek or however the way you want, or you feel like it. Because I started from south, then I follow a south side road or something. If I come, a north person will have a different road. But ultimately they're all going up towards the pinnacle. And that's the definition I can give. Is the guy started in south is wrong and then north side is right? I cannot tell because ultimately they're all going to the top. So that is the best path he can find and reach that point. And that's the explanation I can give. So any of these look different? Yes. And then using different channels and communication? Yes. But ultimately they are worshipping the God.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Where do plants and trees fall in this order of ascension that you're talking of?
So I don't think there is a certain order we can assign. For example, in some cases where in that particular village or area, that is the most sacred thing for them, right? We don't know, but there may be some history or some belief there that when you go to that area, that is the most sacred thing. Whereas when you go to the other side of like the area or village or a city, then all of a sudden you have like a snake is the god for them. And then in fact we have different forms and shapes of God where in India where some areas they perform in that incarnation or the avatar. That is not well known rest of the India or the other areas.
Okay.
But when you go there, that is the most sacred thing for them. And then you wonder like, oh, why? That is the most important thing for them. And then when it comes to other states and other areas, a different form or, the avatar is more prevalent than the others. So I don't know if we can assign order to that way, but ultimately the Trinity that I was showing you, those are the highest order. I mean,
Okay.
the rest of them
Somewhere down below.
down below. I don't think there is any order. And then if I try to assign an order, probably I will get killed by next day, so I don't want to. Yeah.
Is the lion a symbol of God too? I mean, for some
Yeah.
groups, is that?
We can go back. So here you see, right?
Oh.
The human and the lion had as a Simha.
Mhm.
Nara meaning the human, Simha meaning the lion. So that is the incarnation where, and that's the reason, one of the reason why it is highest. The animal, it's again our belief, not necessarily the religion mentioned that way, but it is there. And then also the lion symbols strength and courage, right? That is also one of the vehicle for one of the goddess. So she actually used lion as, so it symbols the strength and courage as well. Yes, a lot of significance. And then when you go to the temples, you usually see at the entrance of the temples, the lion statues.
Mhm.
You'll find them at doorways and like entrances to the.
And that's a certain part of India where that is prevalent, or not
I think it
necessarily?
is mostly uniform across.
Oh.
And then again, depending on the temples too, right? Like I said, Shiva temple versus the Vishnu temples. So there could be some differences, but usually you'll see lions incarnation. Sorry, the statues here and there. How many of you offended with this symbol?
Mhm.
Yeah. So if you don't know, if I'm using this symbol, how do you think about it, right? If you are never educated about that symbol. So, in fact, the most sacred, if after the Om, is swastika in Hinduism, which is also,
That's something.
and also a very important symbol in other religions, not just the Hinduism, Buddhism, and some other Zoroastrian, some other religions as well. I mean, it has a lot of meaning, but then unfortunately hijacked
Yeah.
by one person,
Yeah.
and then group of people. In fact, this is symbolizes the prosperity and wellness. It's if you look at all the financial books, at least I can see like the accounting books. In India, the first page starts with that. In most cases, if you are a religious person. As a kid, we used to start with these two symbols, even in the school books, like in our notebooks. And then the next thing is that the actual learning starts. Go ahead, please.
But that's a swastika with 4 dots.
I'm going to talk about it. Yep. So the swastika that is as a religion symbol is these lines, perpendicular or horizontal, like, and then clockwise. It has to be. And these dots are sometimes there, sometimes not there. But that is mandatory, right? Clockwise, and then horizontal and vertical, right? Like there's no angles to it. The one hijacked by the people is kind of tilted a little bit, and then they use it different. But not many people pay attention. As soon as they say this, see this, it's a bad thing, and then of course, bad memories for all of us, because that's what we remember in the modern history, what happened, and they unfortunately use that to represent the nonsense. But that's actually a sacred symbol. And then you probably, if you visit, you probably see that symbol just with no hesitation publicly in Indian temples. Nobody thinks that is a bad thing. That's supposed to be opposite of bad things. And trident, obviously, this is the Shiva's weapon, but this is one of the sacred symbol as well. And this is the starting symbol, Om, for us. Any chanting, any religious performance, it always starts with Om, something, Namaha, meaning that's the starting, the God name, Namaha means bow to that God, right? So that's how it starts, and that starts with silence. It breaks the silence, Om, and that's where the life started, and that's the most meaningful, the sacredness of it's by itself is like the life, resemblance of life, because the silence is broken after that word. So, yeah, obviously the land of the Hinduism, the birth point, but from the Hinduism, there's at least 3 of them. These are the people who were born Hindus. Buddha was a Hindu when he was born, and then when the long story short, his dad, as part of the Hindu culture, when a kid born, they usually consult the astrology or the priest. Then, hey, how can you forecast how my kid will be, his future will be? And then they predicted that the Buddha will be either greatest king or greatest sage. So there was no in between. And then obviously as a king, he want his son the greatest king, not the greatest sage. So they raised him in the bubble, meaning they never allowed him to go out of the kingdom perimeters where everybody is young, beautiful, healthy, right? Then all of a sudden one day when he took the D route, he realized people die, he saw a corpse, he saw people with, the old age problems, and then he realized, oh, this is not the reason why I born, and then he left the home, wife and kid behind, and his birth name is Siddhartha. That is his birth name, and then he went and then meditated under the banyan tree, and then he got the enlightenment, and then at that point all the followers of him is called Buddhism, and then he mostly talked about sorrows and pains and why, and then what the root cause of that, and then as I mentioned earlier, the desires is what, right? If you can take the desires out of our lives, 99% of the problems are gone. And that's, we talk mostly, and then something, I mean, other things as well, of course. I'm not read myself the whole things to summarize, but highest level, he was the same thing with Jainism is the Mahavir, is also the same, like Buddha, similar concepts. It's a little extreme in terms of the extreme in the sense, not bad way, but Buddha never really walked like when Mahavir talked about it. When you walk, you're killing some of the ants or insects, so they make sure that you don't want to even kill them. Right? That is the ultimate like respect to the other insect, like to the order of the things that we talked about it. Insects are as important as a human being. So just because they're small and they're ants, and they're like doing their business, you cannot walk and then squish them, right? So when they walk, then make sure they have something that doesn't hurt, and then they always take extra precautions. And very small in terms of the followers, but it's still there. And Sikhism, you've probably seen people with turbans here, and they're called Sikhs, Sikhism. And Guru Govind, the person who started the religion, was a Hindu, and then it little bit, depending on where you come from in India, on how you exposed, and they were more exposed towards the Muslim invaders from Middle Eastern, because that's the region where they are located, and then it a little bit conflicts between that and then the Muslim kings from that area. So it talks about fighting, like stepping, like guarding your own principles and whatnot. Little bit that, because that's how they have like 10 different gurus, meaning teachers, right? They came along, and then most of them talk different things, but some of them talks about honoring and then defending your own turf, right? And that's part of that religion as well. But on highest level, these are the three derived from Hinduism, along with the Hinduism. And they were born as Hindus at one point. Not at one point, at birth time they're all Hindus. Any questions? Okay. Temple, like what is the structure of the temple, right? The temple, like any other religion, that is the place for mostly congregate gathering people, right? It could be a cultural aspect, it could be religious aspect, it could be a place where some of the revolutions, social, economical issues discussed started. It's not just the religion aspect, and that is the place mostly played the role in the human evolution or the religious evolution, especially in the Hinduism. And some of the poets and the scripts that were written, they're all some you can attribute to one of the place in that area it came from. And then most of the times, in the ancient days at least, when the kings, princely kings were, until Britishers came to India, they were under like king in that area, right? They provided they gave the land and then the resources to that temple, so the priests can perform the duties, and then also the temple can provide resources to the people in the village or nearby villages where people don't have any means and like poor, they can get the food there, things like that. That's how the structure of the temple or the temple role played in the society. And even today, that is the case. We still have temples who provide run the schools, cultural activities, some of the art forms like the scriptures, the dancers and singing, all the musical instruments, they all play a very big role. And then most of those schools today run near some of the big temples, interestingly. Festivals. If you like holidays, festivals, this is the religion you can go. This is like, you have festivals every month, probably at least, we don't even celebrate some of them because there's too many. And then on top of that, in India, we also celebrate Christianity holidays, Muslim holidays, and Buddhism and whatnot. So, yes, definitely have religion for more festivals, for sure, and then a lot of celebrations. And then most of those celebrations, depending on, there are some scientific reasons behind it, there are some seasonal aspects to it as well, but then also some religious context to it. And some of the things we do, we try to give you some like immunity power. For example, one of the festivals we do, which is the Ugadi, meaning the starting of the year, is actually not the January 1st, but it is based on the lunar calendar. That means the start at the springtime and then goes back and then springtime, right? That's how the festival season cycle starts for us. The Hinduism doesn't follow the solar or the calendar that we know today, Gregorian, whatever. I'm pretty bad on that sense, but it doesn't start with January 1st. It starts with the lunar calendar where the season starts and then season completes. So they prepare some food with the local ingredients or the seasonal ingredients, make sure that people eat that, and those seasonal fruits and vegetables and everything else is part of the cooking, and then make sure that everybody eats them to get the health and benefits out of it, and that's how they incorporated it. As I said, mostly keep us close to God, and then obviously try to remember what happened for that festival, right? Obviously, each festival has some meaning from the religious aspect, like there was bad guy defeated or something good happened, or things like that. So it mostly that, and then also depending on the area, region, that will be different. Right? That festival that same Hindu celebrating in northern India, part of India, I have no idea what they're celebrating. And then in the south, people celebrating something, they have no clue what we are doing. And in fact, the same festival, we do different things in north side and south side, different things between the villages. It's all common, very, very common. And that's why in most times, there is no argument between this is the process, this is the only way we do it, right? Because that's how we raised. Doing different things is very common. There's no well-defined structure or rigid process. Go ahead.
Going back, and I'm gonna not remember the names, but those that, worship the one God based on vertical and then horizontal, between those two groups, is there a way to celebrate versus not celebrate that would be seen as quote unquote not the way you're supposed to do it, because those two groups separated in essence?
Yeah. So in fact, some of the festival are the hierarchy, right? The other gods. So they showed that they both are same, are both one, even though we treat differently. They saw that this is the son or this is the adopted son of them, and then hey, we both supposed to do the rituals together, not fighting each other. So yes, there were some references as well, but in most cases, it's how humans, right? We like to attribute our own feelings even onto the gods, and then start fighting for that feeling that has no meaning in the origin place, right? So yes, that is done, and then over the time, the people like teachers and the scholars who read the religion books, religious books, but unfortunately, some of those divisions still there. And thank God, in the modern day, we don't go and kill each other, at least on that, like on a day-to-day basis. But there's some differences still there. But ultimately, when you go to the Vishnu temple or Shiva temple, there's always some aspects continue. For example, we believe there are 9 planets, right? When you go to the temples, you see them on both sides of the temples. When we go to any temple, the first prayer is always to the elephant god. He's there on both Shiva side and the Vishnu temples. So there's some commonality to bring them, telling them that they're one and same. No need to fight or like only talk about the differences, right? So there are some aspects to that. As I said, the seasons, the festival season starts with Ugadi. Is actually my last name, if you take the view out. So the starting of the year, Ugadi, that's the meaning, the Sanskrit word. And then as I told you, when we do those things, we try to incorporate like mangoes and neem flower and some things that they just get in that season at that point. They try to make part of the dish that they cook or prepare to make sure that everybody eats it. Otherwise, you're missing the seasonal aspects. You're missing the fruits. And then obviously the nature is the gift, right? That gives all the immunity power and whatnot. It doesn't matter which area of the country you're living in. There's some elements that nature is providing in that region where you can get benefit out of those and then move on, right? So there's some scientific aspects to that. But there's always some celebrations behind it, and then make it as a festival and then celebrate. So as I said, the Rama is the one of the most like well-known god. Krishna, Rama, the 2 incarnations, and the birthday of Rama is celebrated very uniform across the South and North Indias. In the South India, especially the state where I came from, we also celebrate his birthday as well as their wedding together. In fact, we do in Madison Temple as well. So unfortunately, I cannot tell like March 31st or April 15th because it's a lunar calendar, so it changes the date because we only 28 days a month as per the moon cycle versus the 31 days in regular month, right? So it changes, but we do have that. And the Ugadi, the starting day of the priests announce those dates, and then people follow it. That is one of the big festivals we have. Like as I said, the person who started the Jainism, Mahavir, his birthday is celebrated across the board. Same thing, Buddha is the founder of the Buddhism. His birthday is celebrated across. Lord Muruga is the son of the destroyer, Lord Shiva. He's mostly South Indian, more familiar in one aspect. Probably the people from North doesn't even know the name or don't celebrate as much as the South people. And then Guru Purnima is like Teacher's Day, I mean like literally. But he's the ancient Guru who wrote remember I told you like there are 4 Vedas, right? He's the one who wrote them, and he's the origin of the Guru or the teacher position from the religion aspect, and that is actually very well celebrated across the country. This is they tie this Rakhi, which is basically the celebration of brother and sister love, right? So sisters tie that, and brothers give like some sweets or money or something to the sister, and then just to make that connection. And then Krishnastami is Krishna's birthday, and that is one big festival celebrated across the country. This is the elephant god I was talking about, that he will be in all of the temples, and he is even the Trinity, even the one doesn't get temples, the other 2 and all the incarnation of the Vishnu, but he was the one first gets the prayers first before we do anything to any god. And some story behind it, but he's the son of Shiva, but he's get the first place in Vishnu temple. So uniformity based, yes, there's always something to talk about it. And then goddess, somebody was asking lion, right? She uses the lion as our tiger in this case, right? Lion or tiger, but to resemble power and strength and courage. And then even the Trinity is the highest form we have, but she actually resembles as the Shakti, meaning the power, pure power. In fact, in one of the stories, she actually crushed them when walking to kill a demon. She stepped onto all three of them, just to show the ultimate power is the woman, not the man. So that's the story behind it. We all should agree, right? And then you probably all heard about the Diwali. Again, the goddess. There are a lot, more than one story always for Hindu festivals. So the goddess killed some demon, and then that's the day we celebrate. And some people think that Brahma killed the other demon and then brought his wife back, and then that's the day they celebrate. So there's some coincidence there. But it is you'll see the people lit those like the lights, lanterns or whatever we can call, and then the Deepavali, meaning the row of lights. That's pretty much what it is. Usually comes in the November, October, end of October, November time frame. And then also we do some crackers, firecrackers, and then the story behind is not the modern day firecrackers. They're supposed to be lighting those because in the village life, that's just a month or 2 months before there were the rice paddies were started, and then the mosquitoes is more prevalent at that time. So the smoke is supposed to scare those or kill the mosquitoes out, and there's scientific reason. But we do all the nonsense now in the modern days that's not, they lost the translation. Lakshmi, she's the goddess for wealth. As you can see, the part with gold coins coming, it's just a physical representation. As I said, the beginning, there is no attributes or characteristics for a god, and then some people think that is. For normal people, for people with not so much intellectual knowledge and philosophical knowledge, how do you connect them to the God? How do you bring them and the concept of no God, but then you have to think about and visualize, and it's not probably easy for everybody, right? That is the reason there are some the rationale behind it to define a God in a shape or a structure, so it is easy for them to think, okay, this is a God, I'm good. The ultimate goal of that is basically make them to connect to the God and then praying and then concentrating and focusing on it. But there's no like one good way or a bad way, right? But that's and then these are all somebody thought, okay, God and wealthiness, right? How do I attribute that? So somebody brought, okay, I will put this in the form with the pot and gold. Do goddess wealth really has the pot falling? Probably not, right? But that's the concept. There's just two people bring together. They tell you that the Sikhs have like 10 gurus, and he's one of them, Guru Gobind Singh. That, and then as you can see, it's in the warrior form, because as I said, there's some resemblance here because they were trying to fight from those Muslim invaders and kings to defend their own culture and land. And then most of those Sikhism you will see with the sword is in fact a sacred symbol for them. And then this is the celebration, harvest festival. This is the mostly celebrated in because the ancient days agricultural farming is the most way of life, right? That's how the festivals were celebrated. This is like the time where we get all the crops home, and they do all the decorations in front of this, showing that you have all the wealth and everything else. And then obviously Lord Shiva birthday is celebrated Shivaratri. And then Holi is the spring festival, just a celebration of winter is over, spring is about to come. Then you probably heard about it, like sprinkling the colors and waters, and this is the festival, mostly celebrated by youth, teenagers. Not really, but that's how. But that's it. That's the 10,000 years of history in 1 hour. So.
Well done.
I know some choir members have had to sneak out, so if you have to get to practice or something, please go ahead and do that. I don't want to hold anybody up that had another obligation today, so if you need to sneak out.
Just want to congratulate all of India for landing on the moon this week.
Yes, yes.
That's
So-
a celebration.
So we call Chandamama, meaning Uncle Moon. So in when we were growing up, when moms like feed us, right, they use him like in singing and soothing, and yes, for the first time, like able to land on, and then physical touch, and then getting those some of the. It's a history, long history, right? To get there, I mean, we already went in the human form, but reaching some extra, like not just our own planet, but then beyond our planet, and then it's definitely human technology advancements we did as a human. That's good. Yeah.
Are we allowed to visit your temple
Yes. Anytime.
anytime? Is there a good time when
There's
something
no
is?
good, bad, but then the temple hours you can see but weekends, mostly we try to do celebrations and put together so that people can come and attend. Obviously, Monday to Friday,
Do you have like a website or
yeah, we have the website. I can put it
That-
here. Yeah, I
that
can-
you could, that it would list?
Yep.
I don't think it'd be hard to find, because there aren't many temples of Madison's.
No, this is. I mean, there may be one more, but the AHA temple is like the structure that operates and works like any regular church or the temple, right? So it's easy, and we have annual. So last 2019, we opened temple. I think first or second week of September.
Oh,
So like 4 years. So fifth year celebration actually.
uh-huh.
So we do that in a grand scale, and we try to serve food, lunch that one of those like Sunday I think coming up. I can if you want to come that day, let me know. I will be there for sure, and then some of us will be there to give you the tour if you're interested. But there is no restriction. So there's the one of the thing I wanted to mention is there is no conversion process for us. You have to born as a Hindu or not. So if you want to follow as I said, because it's a religion, it's a way of life more rather than like a process. So you can follow the Indian rituals, Indian way of thinking. In fact, yoga is one of them. Actually, originated from Hinduism. So anybody can practice. There is no restriction. It is open, and then it always talks about more than one way, more than one process. So there is no restriction in that sense. Anybody can come. The only thing is you cannot walk with shoe inside the temple. I mean, we have some shoe rack and everything. You have to leave it outside. But that is the only restriction I can think. But anybody can come. There's no dress restriction. There is no anything.
So what part of Madison is your temple?
On the Fish Hatchery Road. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Madison. On the belt line, as soon as from the 90 to the belt line, the Fish Hatchery Road is like within 5 minutes or so, and then
South or north of the Beltline? South, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not towards the city, but toward.
Yeah, towards it, yeah.
Yes.
India adheres to a caste system. Now, how does the religious aspect explain that?
So, I asked this question to my social studies teacher as a kid. So I can tell what he told me, which is the only way he convinced me that that actually makes sense. Right? Not necessarily the 100% true, but that's what I'm going to tell you. Anyway. So the village system in India, even as per the religion, there was no caste system. The God said there are like 4 categories, and then the 4 categories. One is priests who perform these rituals in the temples, and then kings who fought and then defend the kingdom so that the people are safe, and then there are some people who do the business, right? Like not everybody can travel, and then are able to do the negotiations, but there's some certain people, and the rest of them are one caste. That's how it is, the society is. But in the reality, 10,000 castes in India. I'm not exaggerating, even more than that, right? There's so many castes. So when we asked the question, the social studies teacher, he actually struggled, and then he came back with an explanation that I accepted it because I liked it. So the society is based on, like in the ancient days especially, right? The village structure is well defined. So village is a self-sufficient unit in the society, meaning they have everything in the village that they can produce. Like there are some people who do farm equipment, they prepare, so the farmers can use it. The farmers are there to cultivate the land using the farm, and then some labor help. And then some people do haircut, barbers, some people wash the clothes, and some people do this and that, right? Over the time, the people who are, the skills are actually passed on generations. Some people are sculptors, some people are painters. Over the time, they started calling them as caste. So the people who does the barber, they became a caste. Then people wash the clothes, people do the farming, people do like stitch the whatever like clothes, and it became a caste, and that's how the caste system originated. And over the centuries, it became so restrictive in our mind that castes are not supposed to marry or talk or eat with a different caste, and it became silos. It became so segregated that there's no interaction in terms of not talking, right? But the interaction in terms of marrying between the castes, and then visiting, and then eating in their homes and stuff like that. It became more restrictive, and then that's how the caste system becomes more prevalent. And then over the time, some scholars and the social revolutionists come along the way, and then that is nonsense. We need to bring down this, and we're all equal. Like as Hinduism never talked about, right? If you're equal to an insect, as important as you, why you think one of the caste is lower than you, right? So they were fight, and then there's always conflict there. But that's how the caste system became part of the life.
So does that mean if you were born into a farming caste, you would be a farmer?
Yeah, as I said, right, the skills were passed to the next generation based on what you did and your forefathers did, and then as a kid when you're growing up, like any other, right, you go and help, and then you acquire some skills, and then obviously your parents will teach you because that's what they know, and then you become. It is more prevalent to become a farmer than you become an artist all of a sudden if you're born into that farming.
You could break out of that.
You can break out. I'm the example of breaking out, right? I'm not in the same country. My dad, we are all the farmers, but it has different subsets again. But my dad decided that he wanted to be a teacher, and then I decided that I want to be an engineer. And then I'm the first one in any generations in my village that somebody went outside the village, studied elsewhere, and then even left the country now. So, yeah.
And I'm gonna say this, and whether it's true or not, my own perceptive idea of our Western culture and Christianity, right? We have our one God, and we are all equal. And whether the United States claims to have castes or not, I would argue that we do.
Mm-hmm.
We do not treat everybody with equality or inclusion.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, we have a couple members here from the Diversity Action Team that actually spoke. And so we, whether we acknowledge it or not, have placed people in castes, you know, based on what they look like or what they are born into, or, you know, whether they have money or based on their jobs. And so, so I guess I would say that even in the United States, we do have our own way of putting people into certain
Yeah,
places,
Yep.
even though we worship one God who made everyone equal, so.
yeah. For me, 4 things are bad to humanity. One is the religion. The next one is the concept of, like, as you said, right, like a country or the place where, right, you come from. Like the most relevant ones, but the caste is the other, segregation, and then you can call nationality or whatever, right, like black, white, caste, 10,000 of them are Europeans versus, you know, Asians versus, you know, or whatever that you can call them. And then obviously the economic one is the modern day of segregation, where we automatically called, without even realizing, the south side of the town. What does that mean, right? Why south side is because the economic, the prosperity of the people. Without realizing it, some school districts are more than the other. Why they have more resources? Why don't we, you know, I'm not saying that socialism is the right answer, right? But why we have the segregation of those resources and then areas more relevant than the others. So these are all definitely, the caste may be a one way of separating the people out, but there are different means, different ways that we do without even realizing, without even understanding ourselves that we are doing it to the others, but we do. I mean, I try to, so I named with a certain name, right? In India, when you name, you have caste is part of that name in some cases. So when you become like an adult and then start realizing it, is that the best thing to do? And then once I started my professional career, until my education, computer science engineering, until that point, everybody knows then my name and then where I came from, and then they can tell what caste I belongs to because of my name. Then all of a sudden I cut my name as Srini. Nobody knows what I am. Like the part of my name, they don't know. They don't have to know. Why should they know, right? They should treat me as I am. If I'm the person who like do good things, then remember me as a good person. If not, right? That's it. That caste or whatever the other things that, you know, represent, like, as part of me. I cannot take it out. But that should not carry forward. That should not define me who I am. I'm defined with my deeds, like the things that I do, or whatever that makes my definition. That should not be, has any baggage of what, where I came from. And same thing, right? There has to be some, somewhere that we have to start thinking about to that next level. That just because our parents did, our grandparents did, that doesn't mean that that is the right thing to do going forward.
I think that's a wonderful place to stop.
Yep.
If you have additional questions, I don't know if you have a short bit of time that you can stay for people to come up and ask
Sure. Yeah.
questions, but for those that need to go, I want to respect your time and thank you so much again.
Thank you.